The top stories of the week with added depth and also context from our team of reporters. We here like to call it the Daily Debrief. Hello, everyone. I'm Ty Quinones. Well, viewers like you are asking for more depth, and here is exactly where you're going to find it. So let's jump right in.
The Delta variant was first found in India and has now made its way to here in Clark County. While it is more contagious and spreads around easier, the UNLV professor I spoke with says it's just another reason for people to get their shot. With an exit ramp in sight in this pandemic for southern Nevada, new strains of COVID-19 are sparking some concern, especially the Delta variant, considered to be much more contagious than the original virus.
Every once in a while, you get the right combination of changes that allows it to spread more easily. And that just in the natural course of the virus's life makes that the dominant strain.
The Delta variant, first detected in India, has now spread across the country, including southern Nevada. The Southern Nevada Health District saying there are so far 13 positive cases of the variant in Clark County.
It's likely that we'll see this variant as the dominant strain throughout the area and throughout the country because it spreads more easily than others.
UNLV health professor Dr. Brian Labus says there is concern on how contagious it is, especially for unvaccinated people, but there shouldn't be panic. People who are vaccinated can be rest assured.
The vaccine still should provide protection against this particular strain, so if you haven't gotten vaccinated, it's even more important that you do so now.
Dr. Labus says while the vaccine may be less effective against the Delta variant, it is still very effective at preventing severe hospitalization and death.
It will still provide some protection, and some protection is always better than no protection.
Currently, the alpha strain of the COVID-19 virus, which was first found in the UK, is the dominant strain here in Clark County. Jeremy Chen, 13 Action News.
The Delta variant of the coronavirus is spreading across the country, and it's been detected in Clark County. Jeremy, the CDC has classified it as a variant of concern. What does that mean? And for starters, what is a variant?
Basically, a variant is, as a scientist basically told me, it's a mutation of the original virus. In this case, a mutation of the original COVID virus. And there have been a few variants that have been found all over the world. The one we're talking about today is the Delta variant, which was found in India. Now, you mentioned the variant of concern. Basically, it's something the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, is keeping an eye on because of the fact that it is even more contagious than, say, the original virus that was first found in China back in 2019. Basically, they're keeping an eye on it, doing a lot of tests, and really kind of focusing on that to ensure, there's no, sort of further complications from that, or there's perhaps, a less effectiveness from the current vaccines for this particular variant. So they're just basically keeping an eye on it.
And how many variants of concern have been classified by the CDC?
So far, there are around 6 to 7 variants that the CDC is taking to look at right now. One of them, of course, being the Delta variant that was first found in India. That's kind of the variant that everyone's kind of focusing on because of how rapid it's able to just spread around. It's already the dominant strain, obviously in India as well as the UK. Here in the US, not so much, especially here in Clark County. It's still the alpha variant, which is the one that was first found in the UK. That's kind of the dominant strain right now. But don't be surprised to see the Delta variant become the dominant strain among unvaccinated individuals as the time comes.
And I think the question most people probably have is, what does this mean for our future? Are experts concerned about, reinstating pandemic restrictions?
Well, of course, their main concern is obviously how, contagious this particular variant is, the Delta variant. But they still say, the vaccines, even though they don't work as well as, say, like the original virus itself, it's still extremely highly effective. It still works and will help you keep you from having to go to the hospital with severe complications or even death, which is the whole point of vaccinations. So basically, they believe they can stem the flow of just any sort of variant as long as people just get vaccinated and get more shots into arms.
Jeremy, thank you so much. For more on this story or others like it, make sure to visit ktnb.com.
Well, new tonight, a Las Vegas Raider making history. Defensive end Carl Nassib is now the first active player in the NFL to come out as gay. The news is making national headlines, and 13 Action News anchor Jackie KOSTEK now has reaction tonight from this historic announcement.
For years, the major professional sports leagues in the U.S. have publicly shown their support for the LGBTQ community through initiatives and pride nights like this one at Las Vegas Ballpark. But that corporate show of inclusivity hasn't always translated to players actually coming out. So Carl Nassib's announcement today isn't just historic for the NFL, but for all of professional sports. In a minute-long message posted to his Instagram, Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib became the first active NFL player to speak these words.
Just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay.
The 28-year-old said he'd meant to do it for a while and finally felt comfortable getting it off his chest.
I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm really not doing this for attention. I just think that representation and visibility are so important.
Nassib's message was matter of fact. The impact of that message, impossible to measure.
And I'm so happy for Carl that he felt to do it, and he doesn't know how many more people he's going to impact for just doing that one thing.
Nicole Williams is the founder of House of Vegas Pride. She says in the sports world, players are in an environment where being out as gay is not normal, which has made messages like Nassib's incredibly rare.
So with anything, it's going to be difficult to be that odd person out. You're already under the stress of your contract to perform. Now you want to add your personal life into it.
Chris Davin with the Henderson Equality Center says what's prevented more players from coming out may be fear of reaction.
Are your fans going to be disappointed of who you are? Are they not going to like you anymore? Is it going to change their mind? Are your teammates not going to accept you?
Yeah, the stigma between being out and being proud of who you are is really still there for a lot of sports, a lot of industries, a lot of states. The rights are still something that we're fighting for, to be able to be who you are.
That's why Brady McGill, the president of Las Vegas Pride, says it's so important for someone like Carl Nassib to come out and be visible, to set an example for others that it's okay and not that big of a deal. It's an idea that's reflected in data. The Trevor Project reports that more than 80% of LGBTQ youth say that LGBTQ celebrities have positively impacted the way they feel. McGill says he hopes to see the day when announcements like these aren't necessary. Nassib hopes the same.
So we hope that one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are just not necessary. But until then, I'm going to do my best and do my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting, that's compassionate.
A little baseball history for you tonight since we're out here at Las Vegas Ballpark. Glenn Burke became the first openly gay MLB player back in the 1970s, although he was not out publicly until after his playing career. He was from Oakland. He played for both the LA Dodgers and the Oakland Athletics, and he once said that it was harder to be gay in sports than in anywhere else except maybe president. Earlier this month, the Oakland Athletics renamed their Pride Night after Glenn Burke. Reporting, Jackie KOSTEK, 13 Action News.
And one of today's top stories is the NFL finally has an active player that has come out as gay. Jackie, tell us a little bit more about this story.
Yes, so this is Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib, and he posted a video to his Instagram today where he came out as gay, and he said he'd been thinking about doing it for a long time. He'd been wanting to do it for a long time and finally felt comfortable getting it off his chest. And so he said that he believes that visibility and inclusivity are so important, and so he wanted to do that. And he also made a sizable donation, donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project, which is all about preventing suicide and supporting the LGBTQ youth. So they do incredible work, and he has now put his weight and his financials behind him. So impressive stuff.
Now, he's not the first athlete that has come out, but in the NFL specifically, players have either come out after they've retired, or in Michael Sam's case, have come out before they've made it on the field and then subsequently didn't make it on the field. What does this announcement today really mean for the NFL in particular?
I mean, this means so much. I think it's wild to think in 2021 that this announcement is as historic as it is, but we really, across the professional sports leagues in this country, have not seen barely anyone come out when they're still playing the sport as gay. So I was here at Las Vegas Ballpark today. I did some research before. Glenn Burke, back in the 1970s, was the first MLB player to come out as gay, but he was not out publicly while he was playing. So he was out, with his team, but he wasn't out in the public. And so again, then it was Jason Collins, I think it was back in 2013. He was the first active NBA player to come out. But I mean, you really can count on like one hand the number of players who have come out across all professional sports leagues in this country while they're still playing the sport. So big news. It's a big announcement for sure.
Now, you did talk in your package to some of the local organizations here in Las Vegas. What did those representatives from the LGBTQ community have to say in regards to this announcement?
Yeah, so these folks are definitely not like super involved in the sports world, but they are super involved in the LGBTQ plus community. And so they, talked about visibility and the fact that someone like Carl Nassib, who has a platform when he plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. So when he comes out as gay, that allows a lot of other youth and other sports players to feel comfortable and to feel like it may be okay if they do the same thing. So they spoke a lot about the importance of visibility. And we know that that's also backed up by data. So the Trevor Project, which of course NASA donated today, they came out with data that show that 80% of LGBTQ youth believe that LGBTQ celebrities have helped them feel more positively about their own identity. So, I mean, more than 80%, that's a big number. And it just shows the impact of representation.
We'll be back now with more of the Daily Debrief after the break. And welcome back to the Daily Debrief, an in-depth look at the top stories of the week. For more details on any of the stories that we're talking about here, just head to ktnv.com.
As we're heading down to the exit camp with this pandemic, Dieter is also doing the same with its standards on unemployment benefits.
A fully reopened Nevada means businesses are going back to normal with jobs available. As a result, Dieter is putting pre-pandemic standards back for regular unemployment claimants.
It is, as you say, starting to return to normal.
Dieter Director Elisa Caffaretta says there aren't major changes for those claimants. This includes the agency again reviewing the next to last employer history if the claimant only worked for their last employer for less than 16 weeks, and proving they are able and available to work to find and accept full-time work. Caffaretta says during the height of the pandemic, those regulations were suspended due to the sheer number of claims.
Several of these regulations were put in place as a way for us to process claims more quickly.
Ciara Neal, an unemployment applicant and founder of the Unemployment Nevada Information and Help Facebook group, isn't surprised by Dieter's shift as Nevada continues to reopen.
I think they've just been building up to it step by step to slowly get everybody off of unemployment.
Neal says unemployment applicants should continue to be on top of their claims and make sure questions are answered precisely. She says securing a job as soon as possible will help, and the extra $300 from the federal government is set to expire in a few months.
Going back to work right now is definitely going to be your best option. All the extra stuff is going to be ending in September anyways.
The new standards don't affect gig or contract workers on Pandemic Unemployment Assistance or PUA. Caffaretta says unemployment benefits are meant to be temporary and will eventually run out for certain claimants.
We encourage people to either get back to work and or get retrained.
It can be difficult to get a hold of someone from Dieter. For anyone that has questions, there is also a Facebook group mentioned before that probably could give you help. We have the details on that on our website, ktnv.com. Jeremy Chen, 13 Action News.
We'll be back now with more of the Daily Debrief after the break. And welcome back to the Daily Debrief, an in-depth look at the top stories of the week. For more details on any of the stories that we're talking about here, just head to ktnv.com.
Nevada unemployment announced some changes to the unemployment here in the state. Jeremy, give us a little bit more information about what the announcement was today.
So pretty much, to put it in a nutshell, Dieter announced today that last week they're going back to the pre-pandemic standards for people trying to apply for regular unemployment. And really, this has been like a step-by-step process. As Nevada slowly reopened, they put in more requirements for people to prove that, you know, they still need unemployment, like the work search requirement that was back in May. Now they not only do they have to prove we are actively searching for a job, but we have to prove that, you know, we are able, once we're able to get a job with a reasonable salary that's within our skill set, be able to accept that job and start working. So you have to kind of do that, all that kind of stuff. You also have to, Dieter is also going to be looking not just at your last employer, but your next to last employer, just in case, you know, your last employer only worked for less than 16 weeks. They didn't do that before to kind of expedite, you know, all of the massive amount of claims they were looking at, but now that claims have trying to trickle down, people are going back to work. They're now being more stringent with the standards now.
I know a lot of folks here in Nevada have been reliant on the federal addition to the unemployment. When does that end here?
So that federal addition, I believe it used to be $600. Now it's like $300. Under the American Rescue Plan that was, I believe, passed sometime in January, that will, you know, go on until September. After September, the $300 are gone, and you're just, if you, for whatever reason, are still on unemployment, you just get what you get rather than the additional $300. And a lot of people are saying, you know, by that time, hopefully, you know, you're able to, you know, find a job because you're not going to be able to live on unemployment benefits forever. So that's pretty much when that additional $300 ends in September. So kind of a target date for anyone who's still looking for a job to kind of be like, okay, by September, find one.
In today's announcement, did Dieter say anything about the return of their in-person Job Connect centers?
So far, there's still no timetable as far as when they're going to resume in-person services, whether it's the Job Connect services or just being able to help people face-to-face. In fact, before my live shot, we literally had a person go up and knock on the Dieter gates before we told them no one's really in there right now because they're all still working remotely. And admittedly, it is frustrating for some people, but as of right now, there is no known timetable as far as when they're going to be getting back into buildings and you know, helping people face to face.
We'll be back now with more of the Daily Debrief after the break. And welcome back to the Daily Debrief, an in-depth look at the top stories of the week. For more details on any of the stories that we're talking about here, just head to ktnv.com.
Recent disclosures by the federal government acknowledging the existence of UFOs might be surprising to everyone except Nevada's longtime Senator Harry Reid.
I had a chance to sit down to talk to Reid, who has an enduring interest in these aerial phenomena.
There's always the joke about every new president who takes office, the first thing he asks is, where's the UFO file? If that were to be even true, where would that file reside? What department would that be under?
Well, of course, we would have the State Department involved, but most of all, we would have the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency.
And wouldn't the military somehow be involved? Because this is a perceived threat that it could be an attack or it's an advantage some other country might have that we don't have.
And that's one of the things that I am very appreciative. The Pentagon has decided some time ago, but fairly recently, that they were going to tell their pilots, the sea captains, if they see something like that, report it.
Harry Reid served Nevada as a senator for 30 years and was the first prominent elected official to publicly embrace the idea of revealing to the American people what the government knew about UFOs.
It's something that America wants transparency. Anytime we try to hold things back from the public, it's a mistake. And I think that's the right way to go. Do we have all the answers? No, we don't have many answers at all. But we know they exist, and we should continue doing everything we can to learn more about them.
Senator Reid was able to draw attention to the topic of UFOs in no small part due to the fact that the top secret government base called Area 51 was located in his state.
So Yes, I've been to Area 51 a number of times. I can remember some of the things that are not classified anymore. I remember that Soviet helicopter. That's where they developed the stealth helicopter. Right near there, you have the Tonopah Test Range, where you have, that's where the stealth fighter was developed. So it's quite an interesting spot. And yes, I have been there.
Certainly there are things that you cannot speak about that are classified, correct?
There are some, yes.
Yeah. And when you say classified, there's a number of different levels of that. Are there not? So is Area 51 among the highest classified echelons?
Yes.
Senator Reid, though, doesn't believe the government held back information about UFOs for fear there would be a general panic. It had more to do with how the government should be accountable.
I don't think that's the key worry. The worry is that taxpayers would feel it's wasting their money on this ghost-like stuff. And I think that the study that I got, where we spent $22 million of taxpayers' money, was important because we were able to show, after we did that report, we were able to show after we did the work, that the report indicated that there weren't 10 or 12 sightings, but hundreds and hundreds of them. And so it's something that I felt at the time I'd like to know more, and we did learn more.
Reid told me when he first wanted to go public with UFOs, his staff and friends did everything but beg him not to do so. When I asked him if he had any personal opinion about what UFOs were, he said, "Frankly, I just don't know."